Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling. A short week means our schedule's all mixed up. We talk some Vols here on this Monday morning with the authority on Tennessee athletics coverage. VolQuest and On 3 are excellent partners here on the show. Austin Price, who joins us now at Austin Priceless on Twitter. Austin, what's up? How are you, sir?
How we doing, guys? It's Monday.
It is. It is a victory Monday for the Titans, for the Vols. And Austin, I think about everything Tennessee wanted to happen on Saturday happened. Is it fair to say, in your mind, Austin, that Tennessee is the biggest winner of the weekend in college football?
Absolutely. I think had all the teams that lost Saturday in front of them, had they just continued to win, minus Indiana, because one of those teams had to lose, I think Tennessee probably would have been in a tough spot. But now they're in a great spot, and it's win and you're in. And there are, if you don't make it, that's on you. It's not going to be because some committee member decided, man, we need to have fairness. We need 4 Big Ten teams and 4 SEC. And now it's like, if you win, you're going to be playing in the college football playoff. Now, obviously, their spot in the playoff can change. Like, they can either go from currently, I think, a team that will be on the road in the first round to potentially a team that is hosting a first round game, depending on this next weekend and what happens in front of them. So, and that's a big deal too, because let's face it, Tennessee at home and Tennessee on the road, kind of two different things in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely are. Austin Price of VolQuest and On 3 with us. So, Austin, 56-0 on Saturday against UTEP. What was the biggest positive out of this game, in your opinion?
I think the defense kind of getting back to, totally, being very disruptive. I mean, they had 15 tackles for loss, and I get it's UTEP, and they're not very good, but, they lived in the backfield all day. They were able to get a lot of pressure, and secondary kind of, looked a lot better when you got, a couple of picks. And, offensively, I don't know. I mean, Nico started really, really slow. He kind of got going, though, in the second quarter, and, they kind of figured it out. And, of course, everybody went to the bench when it kind of got out of hand. So I think for me, it's just staying somewhat healthy. You didn't come out of that, with any kind of new injuries. And now you go into Vanderbilt, again, about as healthy as you can be for a team playing their 12th game of the year.
So, Austin, there was the win on the field. Off the field, kind of a developing story. Is David Sanders the cornerstone of this class, #1 tackle in the country, according to On 3, visits Ohio State. He's been committed to Tennessee for a while. What's the story here, Austin? Because this feels like something that has kind of come out of nowhere a little bit. And how much is Ohio State really in play here as this thing goes down to the wire?
Well, I think Ohio State's very much in play. I think this was an agent-driven trip. And kind of we'll see where things go from here. But this is a development that is rough for Tennessee. They knew there was a possibility that he would go visit somewhere, and he ends up at Ohio State, which is not a shock. That's one of the teams that finished second or third or whatever you want to call for his services back when he committed in August. So Tennessee is going to try to see if they can hold on to him here, but at the end of the day, it's late in the game, so we'll see what happens. But obviously not a great development. Do not think it's done one way or the other as we sit here on this Monday.
VolQuest, Austin Price with us this morning. Austin, as it pertains to, at this point, if it's agent-driven, and that means it's money-driven, right? Agent don't care about your play. It cares about his pay. Will there be an ability, if they do drop a bag towards David Sanders, that the Vols will counter as far as the collective goes?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's just overall figures, right? I think Tennessee has always been clear-cut ahead in the overall money number, Ramon. I think this is kind of other nuances, other parts to it, and so we'll see kind of where this goes. Obviously, I don't think it's it's not a great sign. I also would be the first to tell you I don't think that it's for sure locked that he's gone as of right now. So we'll see what Ohio State comes up with, what they're willing to do, what they're not willing to do, and then again I think this will be something where you'll probably hear from David and his family over the next 7 to 10 days.
Yeah, so when you look at this, of course, you go on VolQuest or social media, anywhere, right, that people have opinions. It's brought up, the last I feel like almost 3 years now, having a high pick or having a high recruit at tackle and not being able to close it. Is this a positional coach, blame on this one? Or is it the offense? I see a lot of people asking for Coach Glenn Ellerby and his ability to develop and, retention of recruits. Where do you start looking at? Because people are going to want heads to roll as it pertains to these type of flips happening if it does happen.
I think every situation is different. And so I don't think it's a cookie cutter situation. What happened with Francis Malingiola, what happened with Jordan Seaton, and what happened with David Sanders, are all three kind of different things in certain ways. With Jordan Seaton, Tennessee had the best NIL offer. The kid and his uncle told everyone as much after the fact. It just boiled down to he wanted to go play for Dion. Ain't much you can do about that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can, have the best situation, but have the best offer, and the kid just wants to do something else. It could be something as simple as you could offer an in-state kid the best situation, NIL offer, and he's had a rough time where he lives in state, and he just feels like he needs to get away. That has happened on numerous instances to help Tennessee and to hurt Tennessee over 30 years, right? So I think there's no clear. I'm trying to use my words carefully. There's no clear way to divvy up the blame, so to speak, for not landing any of those three if David Sanders doesn't come. Now, again, I'm not ready to go there, just like some of the Ohio State people said, we're not ready to call this one done for Ohio State. I think it's still a work in progress, but, I get it. I get, the angst out of Tennessee fans. I would also tell you that, Tennessee fans have said the offensive line is just kind of average the last 4 years, right? They have nobody outside Darnell Wright. It's not like they've had a bunch of high draft picks. And they ran for 2,500 yards the last 4 years, every year, 2,500 yards. Mm-hmm. So, I guess, you got to think of the big picture. Again, you want the best players you can get. Is it the end-all, be-all? I don't know. I think that's up to everybody else to decide.
Austin Price joining us as he does, switching up times today because of the short week. So, Austin, when it comes to preparing for Vanderbilt this week, when you look at this game against UTEP, I guess one maybe beneficial thing is when he was healthy playing in this game, their quarterback has similarities to that of Diego Pavia.
Yep, 100%.
How can you prepare for that and kind of know maybe a little bit what you're going to get out of Pavia, who, by the way, is a better player, I should say, but there's similar characteristics?
No doubt, 100%. You can't totally simulate Pavia, but at the same time, there are some similar traits that will give you a little bit of a simulation of kind of what it's going to be like, and I think that helps. I think that definitely helps. But at the end of the day, there's a moxie for Diego Pavia, a bravado, so to speak, that he's going to play with that, you can't simulate. And, again, this will be Vanderbilt's Super Bowl. They've been so improved this year, and Clark Lee's done a fantastic job. And, they've got a chance to end their season 7-5. They have a chance to ruin Tennessee's season and eliminate them from the playoffs. Both teams have a lot to play for. And, I do think this game at 11 a.m., not that, Vanderbilt Stadium at night is some juggernaut, because I wouldn't say that, but I think the 11 a.m. kickoff where Tennessee doesn't have to sit around all day. They're a morning practice team. They're normally better in early games. See LSU 2022. So, I think that helps Tennessee, so to speak. It's going to be cold, and, we'll see what kind of wind there is Saturday. But I think this is something where, it should be a really good football game between these two teams. And, we'll see if Tennessee can figure out a way to eke out a win and move on to the college football playoff.
Austin Price with us here on RK Dub this morning, talking about Tennessee football as they get ready for Vanderbilt this weekend. I know you always get the questions about, the tempo. Has it progressed this year? And there's been so many things that have, hurt that in terms of penalties or incomplete passes. But have you liked the I guess, what you're seeing at this point of the season with maybe that getting better, the tempo?
Yeah, I mean, I think they use it in spurts. I don't know if they're ever going to be like they were in 22 with the tempo that the team, but they do use it in some spurts. And I think the more you can get Nico in rhythm early with tempo, I think it probably helps him. I think when you go back to Georgia, what did you see early on? They used the tight ends on that first drive. They got in some tempo, and he started to click. Saturday, not as much working the tight ends early in the first quarter, and they weren't engaged in the tempo, and I thought he wasn't quite the same. So I think for Tennessee and for Nico, the best thing you can do is just kind of, it's almost like, having a shooter that, you start in close and you work your way out. I think with Nico, same thing, like let him see a couple of completions, and all of a sudden I think he gets into a better rhythm and a better flow. And so I think, using the tempo to do that is something that probably I think Tennessee would benefit from. I don't know if they're going to do it as much as they did in 22 because they haven't to this point. But I do think in spurts, especially early in the game, in a scripted drive, that can help.
Austin Price of VolQuest and On 3, our guest this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Austin, Boo Carter is electric. I'm thinking of 16 years ago, a guy with number 14 in a Tennessee uniform against Vandy who had an interception return for a touchdown in a game that Ramon Foster was playing in named Eric Berry. I mean, this guy, I don't think that's a crazy comparison, Austin, is it, when you talk about a DB with the ball in his hands? How big of a star does Tennessee have in Boo Carter in your mind?
Well, super tough. Kind of just keeps the legs churning even when he gets hit and tough to bring down. And you're right, he has a lot of electricity in his punt returns. And the kid just has that it factor. He's not scared. Even at the one he dropped Saturday, he just hop back on and say, okay. He's not affected. He has no conscience. And I think that's the best thing you can say about Boo is he just plays the game, he plays the game with a love, a passion, and, doesn't fret mistakes. Like, he understands stuff's going to happen. He also understands that things are going to happen positively. And he is so twitchy and elusive returning punts that it's given Tennessee, I think it's helped the Tennessee offense, kind of like D. Williams did the last few years. Like, when you can set your offense up with short fields, I think it just gives them a jolt in the arm where they're not having to drive 75 and 80 yards the whole game. And, even if, obviously Saturday he had a few decent ones, but I mean, like, even if it's just 15-yard return and not 45 or 50-yard return, that helps. And he just does a fantastic job of flipping the field back for the offense. And I think the offense, paid that back Saturday, and I would say they'll pay that back going forward.
At VolQuest.com, you find visits with Isaiah Campbell and DeJuan Morris, the local product who caught up with Austin, with Matt Ray, doing a great job talking with those recruits about their official visits over the weekend. Austin, how much did Tennessee help themselves with those two prospects in Campbell and Morris this weekend?
Well, I think both the rubbers meeting the road, for them in their recruitments fairly soon. Campbell, sometime early this week. DeJuan Morris, I think is heading towards a decision very soon. So, I think Tennessee improved their stock with Morris a ton. I think, they've been trending there hard for a while. I think this weekend only solidified that. With Campbell, he is an interesting kid. Like, he's a tough read. I think Tennessee moved the needle there. I don't think you come back over here and drive the 6 or 7 hours from Durham, after the North Carolina official visit, just to watch a game and hang out for a little bit if Tennessee's not a major player. But, the academic side and being 20 minutes from the house is something that North Carolina continues to weigh on him. But again, I think if in most instances you read kind of where the visits, you follow the visits, and Tennessee got the last visit. So, I think North Carolina rightfully would be worried about him coming back to campus after his official visit where they felt so good just a week ago.
Austin, one more for me, man. Is Picture Made social media just waves as far as Vol Twitter goes. There is support as it pertains to Omar Norman Lott and his lack of support on Senior Day, correct? I think it was logistics I heard around his situation, but I know a lot of Vol Nation was really backing him, man. As that picture was, if you that type of person get emotional, it was a little heartfelt seeing him solo like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think Coach Garner offered to go out there, and he wanted to take the picture alone. And, so,
I heard he had a little bit of a wall.
And I get it. I mean, I had people messaging me, and, my daughter's former third grade teacher, she messages me, on social media, and she's like, I'm crying in the stands. This makes me so sad. And, I think everybody kind of got that way. Omar is a guy who's, he grew up in Sacramento. He was on Ball Club Confidential, and he talked about, seeing some people get, shot and murdered by gangs and stuff. I mean, he's kind of a hardened guy, and, Coach Garner did offer to go out there with him, and he just wanted to be out there and take the picture by himself. And, obviously there's been a lot of support for him, and rightfully so. And, Omar's a good kid, man. He plays the game and loves football as much as anybody.
Right.
Great time to get a VolQuest subscription with Tennessee pushing for the college football playoff with David Sanders recruitment and National Signing Day coming up down to the wire. Check him out, Austin Price at Austin Priceless on Twitter. Excellent as always, Austin. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you guys. Happy Monday.
Yes, sir.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Austin Price joining us this morning. A lot of good nuggets there.
Yeah. Man.
And you're exactly right. I know if you're unfamiliar with what happened, Tennessee was Senior Day. They put out a video of everybody with their families in the field, and Omar Norman Lott, the only guy that was by himself. And it was really sad, man.
Yeah,
100%.
That's tough.
That's
I
a
didn't
special day
realize
right
he
there.
was from SAC.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Transferred from out there.
Arizona State.
Arizona
Okay.
State. That's
Got
right.
it.
Arizona State transfer.
Potential future Big 12 champion.
Yeah.
Arizona State.
Arizona
Anyway,
State.
playing well.
Running it up.
Yeah, 56-0 of that Tennessee after a really slow start. Looked good. Scoreless after the first quarter. Nico Imaliava went from 0 to close to 10 pretty quickly. Not a good start for Tennessee's QB, and he figured it out.
Yeah.
He did.
Part of it.
It is a part of it, man. That slow start, of course, can be agitating watching it. I mean, to go through the first quarter and not have anything going on, that right there is, all right, lack of focus, shenanigans, Senior Day, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But you need to be able to go, foot all the way down past the gas pedal on teams like that. And they did eventually.
Yeah, and it was good to see, like we talked about the guys needing big games, right? And you saw Brew McCoy, one of those guys that I think it was cool to see him go out on Senior Day the way that he did. But then you also saw the opposite of some of these younger players really getting more opportunity to play. It happened at the beginning of the year with some of these games that they were blowing out teams, and then to have another kind of game where you can have these guys get experience, it only benefits your team in the future. You got to love that too.
Oh, you're so real about that. Yep.
Coming up, we will wrap up hour number 3, continue our college football hour. Florida and Oklahoma.
Woo.
Thank you for your service. That's next.